Hello. This is a bonus episode for my Sims 2 playthrough episodic series that I am doing for the Sims 2 Pleasantview neighborhood. And in that said neighborhood, I have a lot of custom lots that I included, a lot of mods that are included in the playthrough, and some specific playthrough style shenanigans that I'd like to share more information on in this video if you are interested in learning how I interact with my game, interact with my neighborhood, interact with my Sims to make it as fun and dynamic and unique and different each time I play through the game. So if you are interested in that, please feel free to check this video out. And if you are also interested in the playthrough and you're not someone who's seeing this video from that, please check that out. We're going to have some crazy dramatic early 2000s reality television show style shenanigans play out, I'm sure, because that's what The Sims 2 is best at. So definitely check that playlist out. It's going on right now. So without wasting any more time, we're going to jump into the neighborhood and I'm going to break down all of the nitty-gritty on how I like to play The Sims 2. Alrighty, well, we are here in the neighborhood of Pleasantview. You can see we've added a couple different lots to the town. It's a fresh install. I do have custom content installed, of course, but I'm filming this right before I start my playthrough of Pleasantview that I'm going to be doing. And I wanted to film this before starting the series just to show off the lots as they are and give some insight into how I play the game. So if you're interested, you can get that info and it'll make sense why I might be doing certain things in the playthrough. So the first items that I want to talk about are the custom lots. So I think that there's a few lots that need to be added for my style of play and what I'm looking for into the neighborhoods, no matter what, because it offers a specific and much needed functionality for our Sims to use and to interact with. And I don't think that the lots that are pre-made are necessarily terrible, but I like to just leave them as is versus going in and like editing those to have certain modded items or just feel a little bit more modern and nice to interact with. I'd rather just make my own, their package, and like I just put them in each neighborhood when I'm playing through. So one of the lots that I always put into the game is a cemetery. We have this lot right here, the Pleasantview Memorial Cemetery. And I think that Pleasantview really, especially, needs a cemetery. Like Veronaville, of course, would make a lot of sense to have a cemetery as well because of the just family dynamics and stuff. But I feel like when you're playing a playthrough of Pleasantview and Veronaville, Strangetown, like the main, original 3 towns, I always want a cemetery because you end up wanting to play the town as almost a legacy style gameplay, where you have generations and generations and generations of Sims, because it's really fun and like interesting to see how like the genetics are passed down, like what people end up getting up to if they have kids, if they adopt, all kinds of stuff like that. So I always make a cemetery, and it's got this like really funny tall ass bathroom. But it serves its purpose. And I also, aside from having a place for your Sims to bring the tombstones to, so that you can keep kind of familial grave plots together, like you would see in a real town throughout your playthrough. It's also a great place for knowledge Sims to come and see ghosts. So anyone who like has the want to see a ghost, you want to have a cemetery so they can come here and see ghosts. And like sometimes, like crazy things will happen where like a Sim wants to resurrect someone or like see the ghost of somebody like they hate. So, having a cemetery for me is like the number one most needed functional lot that needs to be added. Very, very chill. Just little bathrooms so people can come and visit and not have to leave immediately when they have to pee. I kind of sometimes make like this section over here like a little pet cemetery under the tree, which is kind of fun. And, at night with all the lighting, which you can't see of course right now, but with all the lighting, it is kind of got a spooky ambiance, so it's kind of nice. Yeah, that is the cemetery. that was the cemetery, as you can see. And the next item that I like to add are 2 separate bars, nightclubs that I've made. One of them is called the Wormhole, and the other one is called the Glory Hole. Gonna get a whole theme going on. So the Glory Hole, which we'll check out first, is like a barcade. There's no place to bowl in Pleasantview, so I like to add this lot to let Sims go bowling. It does have karaoke and like a DJ booth and all that kind of stuff, and like a bar, and hot tubs for the romance Sims to come and get up to nefarious activities. But it's it's just a chill kind of barcade style place. That's what I'm going for when I made it. It's a good place because I feel like your teen Sims, while it is technically like a bar, I guess, I feel like your teen Sims could come here and still have an enjoyable time. I put the electronic device vending machine out here for teens to buy cell phones and all that good stuff. And it has some arcade games. So like the barcade aspect, I think it provides a place for teens to hang out in Pleasantview, because I don't really have like the greatest time without this for teens to have somewhere to go. I imagine like a bowling alley, right? They'll serve drinks and food that aren't necessarily adult related. So you also have a pancake shack out here. And a hookah bar. But yeah, that's this one. The Glory Hole. Good old Glory Hole. It is the place to be. It's the place to be. But this is the Wormhole. The Wormhole is more of like a typical, like, I kind of look at it as a karaoke bar. So that's a barcade. Wormhole is karaoke bar. Teens wouldn't come here. This would not, this would not be a teen hangout. This is a definitely adult hangout. So it is a 2-story facility. A bit bigger, in size than the Glory Hole as well. We do have some gaming tables out here, pool table, darts, typical bar fashion. We have the photo booth. We have a very nice looking bar, to me at least. I enjoy when my Sims come here and hang out. I feel like it has a nice atmosphere and feels very kind of like mod, retro kind of feeling. A little lounge area with a television, and then the main kind of karaoke stage area. So Sims definitely have fun here. We do have a hidden kind of hot tub that is a bit more secluded than at the Glory Hole. So when someone's trying to be on the down low, aka Don Lothario, we're sending them here. And then upstairs we have this outdoor kind of terrace bar that for some reason like Sims just like don't utilize very much, which is a little bit of a bummer. And then upstairs more of a private kind of cozy lounge with some arcade games, of course. And then, the normal restroom facilities, which also have a dresser for Sims to use. So that is the Wormhole and the Glory Hole. So the next lot that I always put into my town is a community center. And I call it the Pleasantview Town Hall. It's kind of got this like Scandinavian modern look to the building. We needed something more aesthetic. We needed something more aesthetic in this town. So, Pleasantview does kind of have something similar to this building in the town, but I just wanted to make a more modern version that is nicer to come to and play with. And like my idea is like, Pleasantview received a grant for the community to create a new town hall where Sims can come and buy local artisanal goods, access a computer, access some different types of items at the cafe that I've included in this place. etc., etc. You know, just a place that was made for the community members to come of all ages. So I do really like the way the building looks. I feel like I could see this actually being a community center, you know, especially nowadays. So, you know, we have a little terrace outside, some playground equipment, which honestly is quite the hoot to see the Sims interact with this merry-go-round. I am really glad that I did put those on there. It's really funny to see like random Sims playing with that. In this building, we have a small kind of little lounge area where people can mingle and just kind of relax. We have a very small type of library here for Sims to do maybe some research and all of that. I don't have my hacked computer in the game yet. I need to make sure that I put that in, but usually there's 2 of the Monique's hacked computers right here. We have a little cafe, and yeah, I think something might be wrong with this lot right now, which is also part of the reason why I always open these up and check them out, because I do run into this issue sometimes where for some reason the like custom content isn't showing up. Monique's hacked computers go into this little library. We have a little cafe here where I imagine like a high school student is running, or a younger like college age student is like running this as like a incentive from the community to like host this job here for someone. So it's really fun to have people come here and get a coffee. Now this right here, which is glitched out, this is supposed to be the job board and the social services counter. So obviously they're not in the game yet, so I will fix that. But basically right here we have a job board, which is a mod, and a social services counter for people to come to apply for Social Security if they need to, if they don't have enough money or don't have a job. And you can come here and manually select whatever career you would like. So that will be fixed in the playthrough, of course, but you can imagine now. Use your imagination for just 5 seconds. So, you know, other than that, it's pretty standard. We have little bathrooms, a little kind of waiting area. I imagine like people can wait here to be called up if they're waiting in line to talk to the social services table. A little photo booth, of course. And then we have the shop, which I also need to... when I saved and packaged the lot, I forgot to put the cash register. So there you have it. I put the cash register into the store, and that will actually work now. So for some reason, like, I just never repackaged this lot after I edit it. I always forget. I think that's probably a very common thing for other simmers, so you probably feel my pain. But yeah, this is just a little community lot. It's really fun to visit this lot for me. I like to just see what the Sims do, you know. A lot of people often will just hang out on the chairs on the porch, which I don't often have as much luck in other lots, you know, with Sims sitting in the outdoor furniture just autonomously. So that's really fun to see. And it's nice to see people at the cafe and, you know, just hanging out, and especially playing on the furniture. So that is the town hall. Those are the main custom lots that I always put into my town no matter what, and I usually use the exact same ones. The other lots that I want to briefly go over are just, I like to add an apartment building that's cheap, especially for Sims, mostly when they return from university, to have a place to move into, either solo or, you know, with their partner, just to get some money saved up really fast. I think Slappy's Flophouse is very infamous in the Sims community as just like the funniest little named place ever. And yeah, I always put Slappy's Flophouse in as a cheap apartment. I will sometimes put some other ones in depending on if I need it. The other thing I want to briefly talk about before we move on to the mods that I use and gameplay kind of rules is a very weird lot that I don't always play with, but I want to briefly talk about it because I think that it is a very fun alternative to university. So basically, I started experimenting a couple years ago with playing a different play style for university because mainly because I encountered a really bad bug that was breaking my game, and I was just like completely like fed up and sad and was like, oh my god, like I don't understand. Every time I get to university, like my game just ends up being like bugged to all hell. So I came up with this idea to like do kind of like a like a Love Island type of vibe where if a sim was to be ready to go to college, right, I will age them up to a young adult and then move them into this dormitory. So it's a co-ed dormitory in the town. So everyone who would be going to college would just age up to a young adult and move into the dormitory together. And they will begin their careers or love life, whatever they see fit. And essentially, I will play them for the same duration of university. And then upon leaving, they can either leave by becoming engaged to another sim or reaching the midpoint level of their career. At those 2 points, like, they have to get out, you know? It's rare that the midpoint career happens, like, so quickly. But the engagement situation is usually what happens to the Sims and ends up kicking them out before they would be done. And then what happens is I have elixir of life that I will just set up once the first people are there. And when the Sims leave, they will just reset their age back to starting over as a young adult. So it kind of just gives you a lot of extra time as a young adult. And it's kind of a weird, funny little way to pair people off and experience kind of like the same feeling you get in the dorm, aside from the townie randos that would move into the empty rooms. But you know, you can still have some fun. So this is the dormitory, which, looking at the paint, I just kind of hate the paint. Now I need a better exterior color, but you know, aside from that, this is like the reality television show vibe. Love Island house for young adults. We have a hot tub, we have a little, you know, exercise equipment and a telescope. I love making custom dorms in the university neighborhoods for the Sims that I play. It's one of my favorite parts of the game, and university is one of the most fun expansion packs to me. So, you know, it's like, I of course want to play university the way it was made, but in case, you know, I either have a bug in my playthrough, or if you ever have like the same type of issue, this is what I did to have fun and still kind of do something similar enough to where it felt like really fun. And honestly, like it's really fun to play like this. It's super dramatic, especially because of having ACR installed, which is a mod I will talk about in a second, but I'm sure most of you already know what ACR is. So drama and craziness definitely pops off. It's so funny. But you know, it's just a big house. It's a really, really big house. Has a lot of open room for people to get hobby equipment, activity equipment for whatever they're interested in. You know, little study area, big kitchen, big bathrooms. And then we have kind of the fun zone upstairs with lounges. And it's very barren right now because I just kind of wanted to set the furniture up as minimal as possible. And then, you know, if people want to, because I also am like, okay, this is paid for by the city, right? This is paid for by the city, so this crap would be as low budget and barren as possible. But it's nice enough. I do think there's a distinct lack of carpets, though, which is bothering me. But this is the dorm. So that's all I wanted to say about that is such a weird thing, and it's not often used by me, but in case that does happen in the playthrough, that's what that is. And also, I think it would be kind of fun to one of the generations to do it like that just for fun, just to show it off and see how different it is. So we might get to that in my playthrough. What we are going to do now is we are going to put in the oldie family and we are going to play them just for a second so I can talk about some of the gameplay mechanics that I like to do. So I am going to move the oldies into one of these trailers right here. And here's a good way we can just go ahead and start the process of showing my random roll gameplay mechanics. As you can see above my head right here, I was like, you know what? Like, I really just want to have a lot more things in The Sims be up to chance and not really have me decide about it. Let The Sims decide, let the game decide, let the universe, the proverbial Sims 2 god decide on it. So I started random rolling for essentially literally anything that I'm going to have to make a decision about, I will random roll. So, you know, I have the oldies here and I'm going to move them into one of these trailers because I always end up moving them into a trailer. It's one of the cheaper places and they're older. They don't need a ton of space. So it's going to be one of these two. This blue-gray one is going to be number 1, and this pinkish tan one is going to be number 2. So I am going to interact with my random number generator. I have the option of 1 to 2, and we're going to generate that. Okay, since we rolled number 1, we are going to put them in here. And that's, you know, a very clear-cut example of how I use the random roll. If there is, like, basically anything, like I said, anything that I would be in charge of deciding, for the most part, you know, 90% of the time, I will put the random roll in charge of that. I also want to talk about the random roll and how it interacts with the wants and the fears and the aspiration decisions and stuff like that, career, all that kind of stuff. So they've now moved in. We have, he wants to get a job in the slacker and the music. So the way that I will try to make an informed decision if I can before using random roll is if they show interest in something that would make sense for the career, then of course that would override the random roll. He has a lot of high interest in entertainment and culture and travel, maxed out travel. So entertainment and culture, I feel like entertainment does fall under music, right? So for me, this is enough of a thing. So I will go ahead and lock the music job in for him because I want him to be true to his sim self. So for Coral, she doesn't want to get a job. I don't blame you, sis. I don't blame you. But she does want to get a skill point. So I'm going to go ahead and lock in this cooking skill point. And that's, you know, how sometimes it's overridden by the random roll is some of their personality traits might override the need for a random roll. So that's one example of that. Maxis was real sneaky not putting these fire alarms into these houses. Like they were trying to get you caught on fire. 100%. So she wants to get a pet. Oh, now he wants to get a job in the entertainment career. So now that Herb wants to get a job in the entertainment career, that of course makes more sense because it's literally directly related to the interest that he would get that job. So that's how I like to do it. Like I try to make the decisions based off of who they are. And then after that, it goes to random roll. So she's going to call the pet adoption service. And so now, because she just said she wants to obtain a pet, we are also going to randomly roll for a large dog, a small dog, or a cat. And then we are also going to roll for kitten or adult. So the roll is a 1 through 3, the large dog being number 1, small dog being number 2, cat being number 3. They rolled a 1. So they are going to get a large dog. And now we're going to do puppy or adult. It's a large dog and it is going to be an adult. Puppies would be number 1, of course, because they are the first in the line. And now they're going to get an adult. And now sometimes I will allow them to get whatever, like dog is like the cutest or, you know, whatever. I don't It doesn't have to be every single thing, of course. Buffy costs a lot of money. Buffy costs a lot of money. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, I think they're gonna have to get a puppy. This is actually great. Sometimes, you know, in the perfect world, they would get random everything, but they're very poor. So she does want to obtain a pet, so we are going to have to get the cheapest possible option for them. That is going to override the random roll. So basically, I just operate the game in like a lot of ways that there are certain overrides, but the base of everything is that I want it to be random. So they're going to get the first puppy. He's only $399. He's a genius, and then pretty middle of the road everywhere else. Leroy, very cute. We do want to adopt Leroy. Yay! Leroy is going to get dropped off. She is also going to call a service, and it is going to be the adoption service. Even though she doesn't want to get or have a child right now, this is just something I always do. Yes, we are sure we want to adopt a child. Yes, and it was approved. Great. So they're going to come tomorrow at 10 to drop off the new family member. So we have Leroy here. He was a named puppy, so we are not going to change that name. Yay! Cute. I feel like the oldies are our traditional type of folk. They would probably have this like classic outside style dog house. All right, let's fill the bowl. And we'll just, you know, continue to play them until the adoption happens. And then after that, we are going to move on to the conversation about mods. So with the random roll, while we're just playing, I'll continue to talk about instances that I can think about where it makes a direct, like, impact. When a sim ages up to a teenager and they are picking their aspiration, a lot of people I know go by the zodiac signs, where a corresponding zodiac sign would correspond to a aspiration. That's totally fine. I think that's like awesome. But I personally end up a lot of times with like a million romance sims, and I just don't want there to be a million of anything. I want it to be even and dispersed, you know, according to how I feel like it would naturally be. So I, instead of doing aspirations with zodiac sign, will do random rolls. So I'll choose like 1 through 7. I think there are. We'll see how I feel in this playthrough when we actually get going, but sometimes I choose to not play with the pleasure aspiration. It's just not as fun sometimes. But I do have a lot of lots in Pleasantview that have a lot of pleasure activities, so it could be totally fine right now. That's one of the other reasons why I do like to have several different types of fun activities, like bowling. When a pleasure sim is rolling once, like they will often roll the want to go bowling or like play cards. So having those lots helps out. We're gonna see if Herb has a job right now. He wants to buy a bar. You guys have no money and you're about to have a child. You cannot get a bar. Oh my gosh, the puppy just grew up. That is so funny. The puppy just grew up. Aw, he's so cute. Okay, no jobs today for him. That's fine. Leroy, that's so cute. You know, he just looked for that job. He didn't find it. I will usually allow my sims 3 days if they're an elder, 5 days if they're not, to look on the computer or the newspaper for a job and the job that they want. And after that, they are able to walk to the town hall, into the job board that's supposed to be there, that will be there, and get a job themselves physically in person. So that's how that kind of works. One of the other ways that I have used random rolling in the past as a gameplay mechanic is to kind of replace risky woohoo. I do have the risky woohoo kind of mod situation in the game, and I do prefer doing that versus the random roll, but sometimes, you know, if things glitch out, they stop working, etc., what I will do is, if sims have the want to woohoo, I will roll 1 through 100, and depending on the percentage chance that I'm like wanting in the neighborhood, I will roll the dice or the number generator accordingly. So if there's a 15% chance that a sim would get pregnant from risky woohoo on a normal woohoo, then I will roll 1 through 100, and if it's 15 or lower, then I will then make them try for baby, and that will work as a risky woohoo manually. One of the other main things that I use random roll for is the chance cards. So when a sim is at work and the pop-up happens and there is a chance card, I will roll 1 or 2 to choose whether they're going to click the first option or the second option. Pretty straightforward. Eventually, I'm sure there's things that I can't remember off the top of my head, but through the playthrough, there will be many occurrences where I am random rolling, and it will make a lot more sense now, I'm sure, after hearing all of this, as to why I choose to do that. Very specifically for the aspiration, because I know most people will use zodiac signs, but I just like it to be a little bit more up to chance. You know what I mean? Now, of course, unless there is a hidden token, like for Alexander Goff, that overrides the random roll. The last thing I want to show you in regards to the random roll is the adoption of their new child. He or she is going to be here soon. Now, in a normal circumstances, I would be rolling baby, toddler, or child 1 through 3 to see if they're going to get a baby, a toddler, or a child. Oh my god, wait, no, it just glitched out. Oh no, it just glitched out. Well, we were supposed to randomly roll that, but I took too long talking and we didn't get to. But thankfully, the option that I was hoping for did happen because I was trying to say that because of their age, you know, we need that child to be a child and not younger, so that there is no real chance of the child being taken away by social services, because the teenager will still be able to live here. So the child should be able to live until being a teenager before, at least, worst case scenario, both of her parents pass away. And so she will be fine. But yeah, for Herb and Oldie, they always get a child, but we would normally roll 1 to 3 and get baby, toddler, child, what have you. Unless something specific overrides that. But okay, well, we got a child. It's a little girl. Aww. Christy. Coral and Christy. That's cute. Aww. Looks like she has gray eyes and red hair. Where did you go? Oh, and they got a good memory of that. Aww. That's so cute. I like her little hair in a bun. So this sim will be a very important, you know, member of the town and playthrough. So I'm really glad that we did get a child, because I was really scared once I saw that pop-up go away. Well, how adorable. And with that concludes the topic of random roll. And I'm sure there'll be some new things that I didn't discuss through the playthrough of times where I do use that, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Now that we have talked about all of that, the last kind of pillar that I want to discuss is the core set of mods that me, along with many other Sims 2 fanatics, usually play with. The main one that I think I love more than anything is ACR, Autonomous Casual Romance. It basically allows for Sims to pursue romantic interactions autonomously, and it can be set to a sliding scale of intensity, of how often and what parameters you need to have or not have in order to achieve those interactions. It's very customizable. I also like the overlapping risky woohoo situation, because we want surprise pregnancies. That's where a lot of the drama comes in. Silent pregnancy, so you do not hear when the little baby bell goes off that you would normally hear in the base game when a sim becomes pregnant. I also like that you can randomize the entire town's gender preferences. So you'll have Sims of all different gender preference stats in the town, which is great. and used to be something that I would randomly roll for, but I don't do that. Of course, it makes it so much easier. Monique's hacked computer is like the mainstay technological advancement in Pleasantview. It allows you to bank online, pay your bills online, do a variety of other things on the computer that just make day-to-day quality of life in the game amazing. And it's just the best. So there's nothing even to say. It's just like the best mod. You need that. The job board and social security table that we briefly talked about is the other most utilized thing I think that The Sims will use in the game. For me, the job board, like, people really use that. And along with Monique's hack computer, it's just a quality of life situation. I often play with shortened university, so it takes university from like 18 days to like 8, I think, or 7. Significantly boosts the fun for me when it's not so long. And like, I could be wrong on those exact dates, but you know, it goes from being really long in university to being quite manageable. So that's something I like to play with. There are kind of, you know, back of house type of mods like the Bat Box and the Sim Blender that you definitely need to have. They just provide like every single thing that you need to do to keep your game kind of healthy and functioning. Some sort of I have like some mods that are just kind of like maintenance like that, like debugging type of mods and anti-corruption. There's a lot of resources online, and I might just compile a list as well of the things that I use, but kind of back of house stuff that's very essential, of course. Allows for partial homework credit for children doing homework, and a mod that automatically makes them do homework at 7 p.m. Several other types of education and child-based mods, but those are the two that I really think about the most. There is a Monique's child support mod as well, because of all the drama with ACR and like the pregnancies, the babies. That is really good. I love that. That's definitely something I always put in the game. The child support goes crazy. The child support goes crazy. It's really funny. It's messy. I think, you know, there's a whole lot of random little tiny mods like watch TV from all chairs, getting the mod that lets toddlers come out of the crib autonomously. Like, there's a lot of tiny things. I don't think that I'll bore you with all those little things. I think the main thing is there's a very nice conjunction between having ACR, risky woohoo, child support, and even sometimes sometimes having this even story progression mod put in. Like, there's a very nice kind of melding of all of those things that creates drama. And for me, I really like drama in the game, not in real life, but in Sims 2. That's kind of where I find the most kind of humor and funniness and fun, is just seeing what these little crazy guys get up to and how that it's going to impact their story. So for me, like, that's really all there is to say. I think, like, I might go into depth on another video of like every single mod that I have and how they work or whatever, you know. But most, you know, this game's been around for a long time, and I'm not stupid to the point to think that most of you probably already know 90% of this if you play The Sims 2. So I definitely don't want to come off like I'm saying anything new or novel. Absolutely not. Just for me, as far as transparency for starting this playthrough on YouTube, I just wanted to kind of highlight the things that I like the most and that I will definitely have in that playthrough for the duration of it. So those are the main things. Oh, and one more thing that I remembered is secondary aspiration. I always choose through random roll as well. So for Sims who are already pre-mades in the town, they will get a secondary aspiration at some point, most likely, and that will be chosen from random roll as well. Names for children is also something that is randomly selected. I will either do a correlated number to letter of the alphabet and then roll for that, and that will be the first letter of the first name of the child, or we can do it sometimes where I will start that with the first child that's born with a random roll. I'm like, okay, we rolled the letter R. And then after that, every child who is born will be named following the letters of the alphabet, starting back around and continuing so on and so forth. Magic lamps. When magic lamps enter the lot, if they have the wish for that, if they want to make a wish on the magic lamp, the sim, of course, will get to do so. If there are remaining wishes, that is either put into one of the Sims inventory if it doesn't really make sense for another sim on the lot to make a wish. Say it's like university, you know? But other than that, sometimes that's another opportunity for a random roll to choose. So you can roll blah, 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 blah. Oh, this person's going to roll, you know? So that kind of thing. And as the last thing that I want to talk about before finishing this video is how I go about playing The Sims in what order. So I follow originally, of course, the Prima Guide order for The Sims 2. And, you know, that's how we will start the playthrough. And then we will follow in that same order, so on and so forth, as the Sims take turns in the households to play in. So for the pre-made Sims and the Prima Guide kind of sequence at the beginning of the playthrough, it will be an undetermined number of days that I usually play. It's as quick as possible. I kind of try to just like speed run that to make it as quick as possible. But it might be a couple days, whatever. So after that, the normal playthrough order that I'll do, I usually play my Sims for a week at a time. So 7 days in the Sims life, and then we move on to the next family. But like, honestly, I might change that throughout the playthrough if it just seems like it's becoming boring for the videos or not, and just do like 5 days or 4 days and just keep it kind of bouncing lighter and quicker. So, you know, but 5 to 7 days is usually what I do for the different Sims in order. So with that, we are at the end of kind of the just overarching information that I wanted to give alongside my playthrough as a bonus episode. I know this was kind of like a rambly, not so concise video, so I appreciate it if you made it to the end. I hope that it was informative or just give some information onto what you may see and why I might play things a little different than you might play your games. And maybe there's something you want to try out. I honestly kind of think that I should do some sort of little Love Island mini episode for one of the generations of children or teens that are going to go to university, because I just want to show off how fun that can actually be and crazy and wild. But I appreciate it so much if you made it to the end. I hope that you will enjoy watching the playthrough as much as I am going to enjoy playing it. And if you have any questions or any sort of mods you want me to try out in my game, I'm very interested in that and really happy to do so. I would love to know of any cool mods that I haven't heard of or don't already have in the game. So please let me know if you have any good suggestions or ideas about that, because I do want to know. But I appreciate it again. Thank you so much. If you like this video, please feel free to like, subscribe to see the playthrough episodes, hit your timeline, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks.